First launched in 1979, the LEGO space theme in one form or another has endured for generations. While today dominated by licensed properties such as Star Wars, there was a time when LEGO fueled our stargazing imaginations by using their own, developing such classic sub-themes as Blacktron, Ice Planet 2002, and of course the original classic space line. In 1996, LEGO introduced the Exploriens sub-theme. Starkly different from most of its predecessors, the Exploriens weren't interplanetary protectors or galactic mercenaries. They were scientists, and, as their name would suggest, explorers. And today we're going to explore one of my favorite sets from the theme, the simple yet elegant Nebula Outpost. Welcome to TrikBrix. What's up everybody, my name's Jamie, and today's retro review is going to be all about set number 6899, the Nebula Outpost. Now this is 156 pieces of pure nostalgia, for me anyway. I actually had this set when I was a kid, and I loved it then, and I still love it today, 22 years later. Now this is not my original set. I recently picked this one up on eBay for about $15 US, which I didn't think was too bad considering that was the original retail price. Now you can see this box is pretty well loved, but the pieces and instructions are in excellent condition, so let's go ahead and take a look at those right now. This box has been taped up for quite some time, I would say. Whoever had this set before me really took good care of it. I mean, there's your instructions. Almost like brand new, and the bricks and pieces inside are just about the same. A lot of times with these older sets you'll have trouble with the whites or the light grays sort of yellowing, but as you can see, that's not the case here. The whites are nice and bright. They're not even really scuffed. They're all in really good condition actually. But you didn't come here to look at a pile of pieces, so let's go ahead and put this thing together. And voila! Here she is, guys, in all of her modest glory. I say modest because it's a relatively small set, but it really packs a lot of interesting features and details that you wouldn't normally get in a set of this piece count or price point. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of those, but first of all, you can see that the Outpost comes with 2 minifigures, so let's go ahead and take a look at those right now. First up, we have the commander of the mission, and he gets this really cool helmet piece with the breathing apparatus. You can see those hoses wrapping around there to the front, and that's molded in the old dark gray and has a trans neon green visor. He also has a pair of black oxygen tanks, and what would normally be considered a bazooka, but since these guys are scientists, I would assume that that's some sort of scanner or sensor. He has some nice torso printing with that metallic silver ink. He's a ginger, and he has a printed communications device there. And if you take a closer look at this helmet, you'll notice this little notch right here, and that was designed with a very specific purpose in mind. And I don't know why I've always loved this, but I do. It's designed to fit directly over the top of the air tanks, almost like it's connected. And I think that was some pretty good retro integration on LEGO's part, seeing as how these tanks were nearly 2 decades old at the time. Next up, we get what I always considered to be the astronomer of the mission, and I'll elaborate on that in just a minute, but he just gets the standard race car driver style helmet, the same black oxygen tanks, and I have to apologize because I'm just now realizing that I actually have these torsos swapped. This one is meant to be for the commander, and this is why it's so easy to get them mixed up, because they have this same identical face. And it goes without saying there's no alternate face or rear torso printing, but that is meant to be the commander. You can even see a little rank insignia there in the top right of his torso. And now moving on to the main event, the actual outpost. The first and probably the simplest feature are just these 2 panels that fold down just to allow a little easier access to the interior. They also give us a good look at one of the common threads of the Exploriens line, which were these holographic decals that they included in every set. There were actually 3 different types. This one seems to represent a computer screen. I've always loved holograms, and they were very prolific in this series, which may be one reason why I enjoyed it so much. And then we have these 2x2 tile pieces. This was another commonality in the Exploriens line. LEGO referred to these as fossils, and they seem to be the MacGuffin of the story, sort of what the Exploriens were after. And they actually serve 2 purposes. The first of which is related to this arm that's built onto the back of the outpost, and that's hinged up and down and side to side, and it can also be removed and carried around by your minifigures. And it has a magnet on the end because these decals are actually magnetic. And when I was a kid, that was the coolest play feature ever. I loved that. As I'm doing this review, I'm being reminded just why I thought this theme was so awesome when I was a kid. Anyway, moving on, the second purpose of the tile pieces has to do with this arm that's built on the opposite side of the outpost, and that consists of 2 panel pieces. One is trans blue, the other one is trans red. And you may have noticed these convoluted red and blue lines on the artwork, and that's because when you place it beneath the red lens, it shows one image, and when you place it beneath the blue lens, it shows an entirely different image. It's just one more play feature that LEGO packed into the Exploriens line that really put it over the top for me. This tile seems to represent an alien inside of an egg, and beneath the red lens, it looks like it's just an alien face. So that about wraps it up for the first floor of the outpost. Let's go ahead and take a look upstairs and see what we can find. And right off the bat, you'll see that the construction of the top floor is very similar. Instead of the white panel pieces, it has these trans blue window pieces, and those fold up in sort of a gull-wing door fashion. It's very reminiscent of a DeLorean for me. There is ample room upstairs for 1 minifigure, although you could fit 2 without much issue. And right here is why I always considered the second minifigure to be an astronomer, because this to me represents a telescope, and that's hinged to allow movement on a vertical axis, and it's either a telescope or a very large laser cannon, but again, scientists. You're also given this little sensor array, although I suppose it could be used as a ray gun if absolutely necessary. It's also worth mentioning that the entire top floor is built on this large turntable that allows 360 degrees of rotation, so we'll spin that around and we'll see here another one of these holographic decals. And LEGO always seemed to use this one in place of a control panel, which is interesting. Another one of my favorite features is the fact that the entire top level is removable, so you can fly that around like a little scout ship or whatever you choose to do. It's only held on by a couple of studs, so it's easily removable and easily replaced. And last but not least, we have these 2 antennae on top that can be maneuvered around so your Exploriens have perfect reception in their communications with the home base. So as for my overall thoughts on this set, I think it's wonderful, if you couldn't tell already. Like I said in the beginning, this is a very nostalgic trip down memory lane for me, so it's possible that I'm a little biased, but I would give it a solid 8 out of 10 for what it is. There are a few things I think could have been added that would have made it just a tad bit better, possibly the inclusion of a small moon rover or hovercraft, but overall it's aged very well. It doesn't feel outdated or vintage. It feels like it could be a modern set, so I definitely recommend it if you can find it. It's still pretty reasonably priced. You're going to pay anywhere from $15 to $25 depending on the condition, so definitely worth adding this to your collection. Anyway, this has been Jamie for TrikBrix. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Take care everybody, and play well.